What's up, Mike?
And now, happy Thursday.
All right.
Happy 1 week from Turkey
Happy.
Day, by the way.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well,
I'm ready to erase all of my hard work I've been doing in the gym this past month.
that's okay. We're going to talk about transitions today. So we'll talk about
Oh,
how to
that's fun.
transition from one program to the next. Basically,
I
I
like
swear
it.
we didn't practice this intro. By the way, if anybody's listening right now, that's not
And
me.
we're gonna do it differently today. We're gonna talk about transitions, and then we're gonna do our fit quest afterward. And we actually have a sweet fit quest because Mike talked to Gary V on his podcast or something.
Yeah, on the Tea with Gary V. Yeah, I can now say I was a guest on Tea with Gary V, which is kind of
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're allowed to say that.
yeah for me. It's
All right.
documented.
Sweet.
It's on the internet. You can check. You can watch.
All right. So I have some questions for you about that, and we'll do that right after we talk about our workout transitions.
Sweet. Okay, so I was trying to think of what made me think of this, and it was from kind of like a pitch I was doing to a friend of a friend who was asking me about strength training and different types of strength training and how to know when to do different types of strength training or what kind of strength training is right for them. Because she's been doing, let's just say she's been doing a bodybuilder type of strength training right now. Like she feels like she's peaked out with it.
Typical.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that popped in my head pretty quickly. I feel like she was. I don't want to say what she was doing and be wrong. It was you like push pull legs or like biceps and triceps, that kind of split. Legs, core. Yeah.
But some kind of split and not a full body routine. It sounds
Yes.
like.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I was asking her questions like I asked our clients questions at the end of their program. And I was like, oh, it would be really useful to just go over what those kind of questions are and then talk about why these things are important. Because everybody goes through transitions with their programs. We talk about our transitions, but what are like the principles of good transitioning between programs?
Okay. I like it. So you have some good ideas?
Yeah. So the first thing I think of is how I break it down into categories. So like how you did with your recovery, how much work you felt like you were doing, and then what do we do? We talk about like what was the most challenging part of your routine? What was the least challenging part of your routine? Why was it challenging? Why wasn't it challenging? Yeah, so I'll just rattle them off and then jump in when you have like a question about it, basically, right?
Okay. Yeah. Let's
Like,
do it.
well, why did they? What's coming up in the next 6 weeks that we
Okay.
plan ahead for? Let's see what's.
And why do you have to plan ahead like that? Like, oh, like what's the reasoning behind that? Like, why is that the first question?
Well, I mean, when we're figuring out a program, most programs work really well for about 4 to 8 weeks, and 6 weeks is right in the middle. And so, assuming things are normal, quote unquote, there's not too much
Yeah.
craziness going on in your life, then at about the 6 week phase, we should know what to do next. And if too much stuff is going on, then it's going to be really hard to make that happen. So we want to plan ahead for it.
So what do you look at? Like, so around say week 5 or week 6, what do you start looking at with your clients, and what should your clients start thinking about to kind of get them prepared for that transition?
Right. So like how many times have I practiced the skills I need to practice? Does that feel like enough? Or
Is it too much?
is it too much? Yep. Which end of the spectrum are you on it? Are you making progress in these areas or not making progress in these areas? Has anything changed with your environment that may be affecting that? Or has it been mostly yourself? Those kind of things.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, so those are good things for everyone to be thinking about, kind of anywhere from that 4 to 8 week period, right?
Right. And then that'll help you figure out, okay, the things I'm not progressing in, what do I need to do? Do I need to step back? You're usually progressing, regressing, staying the same, or changing dramatically. So which one is it basically
Right.
for that category of movement? Are you still oh, another one is, do you still feel like you're progressing towards your goal, your overall goal at the end of the program?
Right. So and this almost never happens. It's not like you go through 6 weeks and you get too bulky. Like, like that's not ever going to happen. I think that just at that 6 week period, it's a good time to just rethink about your goal.
Exactly.
And I mean, you're probably progressing towards it. You might not see it all the time within those 6 weeks if it's like a super long term goal.
Right. Can you tell if you're progressing towards it? Can you tell if you're not progressing towards it? It's hard.
Right. Right.
Mm.
And if you do have a coach, then they're the ones that usually are setting a lot of these goals, or at least they're talking to you about it to kind of set these markers that you have. And I mean, it could be anywhere from you're just progressing up in reps, you're progressing up in weight. Maybe you just feel more comfortable, if you're doing certain movements.
Yeah.
And I think that the feeling more comfortable a lot is just increasing your technique and just getting really just more comfortable under the bar or on any lift you're doing.
Yeah, I think I think people avoid this too, by the way. I'm glad we're talking about this. Like revisiting your goals when you're going through a transition, revisiting what those are and analyzing in retrospect how you're doing with them. And I think people, it gets hard to be consistent over a month, right? Especially the newer things are and the more hectic things are, right? A lot of times you can take this perspective that I thought I would be here at this point and I'm not, so I'm not progressing towards my goal. When it could also be seen as I worked out 300% more than I did the previous month.
Right.
3 times more than I did the previous month. And I took time for myself more than I normally do. And my energy levels do feel a little bit better. So we're progressing in the right direction. But sometimes the approach to help you with that. And then there's also times when you're not doing as much, but you also need to look at that and say, okay, what is making that happen? Do I need to reevaluate my goals so I don't push against a wall, an immovable object? Thinking that way.
And just reevaluating your goals. So like, for instance, if you're at the end of your 6 weeks and you notice that you are losing, say, 3 or 4 pounds a week, right? Which can sometimes happen though at the beginning of like a long-term weight loss goal. But let's just say you're losing a lot of weight, but your main goal was to get stronger. And you notice that, say, your lifts, after 3 or 4 weeks, you weren't progressing at all. Or maybe you kept on missing every single week and you were just staying at the same weight or something like that. And then you go to your coach and you're like, hey coach, this is what's happening after 6 weeks. And then as a coach, you would evaluate, that. And that is something that we've seen over and over that we can probably point out really easily. Like they probably need to increase calories, would be just an easy thing that you would think about. That's just one thing. Like if you are losing a lot of weight, you might be thinking you're doing great, but you might not be. And so that's why it's good to just go back to reevaluate.
Yeah. Cause you got to look at all the indicators of your outcome. Now I'm sounding like I'm grad school again or something, but when you look back, you're going to get a lot of little pieces of information that are going to help you make a more educated decision. And if you don't look back, you're going to have a hard time going forward. This is like my history class. You have to know history, you guys. There's a reason why we study history. And you got to know your own recent history. And we forget really quickly, which is why you don't ask for food logs past like a few days, honestly.
Why don't we talk about that? We were talking about that before the call, which I thought was pretty funny. But whenever
people's ability to recall things is really crappy past like 1 week. And that's being generous, basically. And then you get a few weeks and it's not just as bad or like 2 times worse. It's like 10 times worse. You know, like, do you ever talk to somebody on a Monday and they say, "How was your weekend?" And you're like, "I have no clue. What did I
all
do
the time
weekend? It's Monday. What do you mean? What did you yesterday? What did you do? Oh, yesterday. Because our brains just segment and restart basically to get action going.
Yeah, I always forget about those other 4 pieces of pizza that I ate last night, and so I only ate one piece. Or I only ate one piece of pizza last night.
Yeah,
okay?
but then you get to the fridge and you're like, "Where's the pizza?
Where did it all
Where
go?
did it go?"
I just look at my dog.
Looking at the dog. I didn't get a dog. That's right. Well, now I'm even more motivated. What else? What else is good to know at the transition time? Pretty ask people. This is kind of a short one, but so I don't want to like lengthen it too much.
Well, planning before, planning before the transition is important.
Right.
What I like to do with my transition week is I love my transition week. Like, so if I've been through a grueling program for 6 to 8 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks and I'm almost at the end, like it's, you don't want it to finish. All right. You're not ending something. All right. You're just you're just kind of finished with that part, but you don't want to trick your brain into saying you're finished. Like that next week I get super excited about. You can do multiple things in this week. I mean, depending on how you want to coach or how you want to do yourself. It could be like a PR week where you really try and push yourself. It could be a rest week where you kind of take a week off. And it could be, which is my favorite, is I just do a fun week where I just do a bunch of exercises that I like.
Mad Lib style, like a Mad Lib style. Yeah.
Like we were talking about the other week, like some Mad Lib exercises. And then during that week, I kind of test a little bit what I'm thinking about with my next program, and just play with some things, see how they feel. And then by the time that following week hits, I can jump into my next program. I'm kind of loose from I'm not like stuck in my last program. I had a little fun last week and I'm ready to get back into the grind because it's important to stay on a program. You don't want to be in that ad lib period for like too long.
Which you can get stuck in as well. Yes. But if you have a coach, that's not going to happen. Just saying.
Exactly.
Wink. But yeah, I like that. I like thinking of I don't put this in my questions a lot, but I try to gather this when I talk to my clients, which is what's the mentality going into the next program? You know, like what kind of mentality do we want to have? Do we want to see? And not thinking about it like that's the end of that program. You know, and I say that, but it's not like it's dead, so to speak. This is all part of like a macro program, basically, towards your end.
Right.
Which is why we evaluate our goals at the end of a program.
Oh, here's a coaching question for you and for other coaches. Do you tell your clients this? Like, you know, because all they care, like a lot of people care about is, hey,
the meta coaching strategy.
3 months from now, I want to lose 30 pounds. And like, or, you know, I don't care about the program. And then, so for you as the coach, every 4 weeks, how detailed are you going into all this information that we're talking about? We know is good, which is what we're thinking about as coaches. So we do it to ourselves, but to a lot of clients, do you go through all this or not?
It depends on how ready they are. I try to assess the readiness, I guess. If I'm thinking about what I do, because for some people, getting into a strength training program is like learning a new language, you know? And for other people, it's like learning a fifth language, like, oh, it's just another language I'm gonna learn, or they've already
Right.
got like they've already gone to school for Spanish, a little bit, or they've lived around people who speak Spanish. So they kind of got an idea, even though they're more ready, basically.
Yeah.
Because I think if I throw them the macro coaching or the meta coaching, whatever buzz term you want to use, like the overarching coaching at them, and they're still trying to figure out how to squat well, or get
Yeah.
onto the ground, then it's too much information, basically,
Right.
at that point.
Right.
Yeah. But if they're there, I'll throw things in. That's why I still do live coaching so much though, man. I like live coaching, even with our online client. It's funny because I'm nagging them to meet with me live at some point. Like after they get into a routine and like they're used to filling out the survey and they're used to getting their program, and I know them well enough and they know me well enough that we can just bang them out,
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
like, hey, come meet with me. I want to like talk to you. I want to see you. I want to get some conversation so I can understand what's going on here. Even though they get this, it's included in the price of their program. They get the live session with me,
Right.
It's not, I think they like talking to me. I don't think they're,
Right.
but yeah, at some point I have to be like, hey, it
That's
helps
awesome.
me figure things out if I can see you, a little bit and just have a conversation with you.
I like it. All right, cool. That's good, man. Cause I think everyone's different. And I think that's a good approach to the coaching.
Yeah.
All right. What other kind of transition stuff?
Other strategies, mentalities are useful for transition time. What's good questions to ask yourself? For example,
What about actual programming?
you mean reps and sets,
What
stuff like that.
Like at the beginning, we were talking about a bodybuilding program
Mhm.
and then switching to a new
Body.
program,
Yeah. So
like a full body. So is there anything you need to think about when you're changing programs and changing programming like that?
yeah, what the
Like
theme
not
or the strategy, the actually you could maybe break it down to you you're hitting muscle groups at a drastically different frequency if you go from bodybuilding to full body, right?
Okay. Mhm.
So, and say you're hitting different muscles than you would be hitting in a previous program. So you're not just changing the reps and sets with the same exercises. You're going to not only different exercises, but you're going to um, groups of different exercises and groups of different muscles and all that. So that's going to be a shock to your system, basically.
Yeah. So there's going to be a different ceiling going into that new program.
Yeah, I really like people ideally. I mean, an ideal transition from bodybuilding to full body, for example, would, it is going to make obvious sense when I say it, would start as like maybe 50-50, and
Right.
then go to like 25-75. And then if you want to go full tilt, go 100, try it out for a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
full body, I'm a big full body proponent. So proponent, is that the right word? Advocate.
Yeah. I think I have an example. Okay. So one thing that when you go from a split routine, let's say it's chest day, out of your 5-day split routine, the next day after chest day, your chest, so you just did 16 set on Monday of chest. On Tuesday, your chest hurts. I don't care who you are, your chest is going to be hurting.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Now, when you move to, say, a 2 to 4 day full body routine, and you're hitting chest or your upper push, 2 to 4 times in a week, you're only doing maybe 4 sets, say 4 to 6 sets each day of that. Say we're just talking about chest here. You're only doing 4 to 6 sets of chest every day. I think people are like, hey, I'm not sore. Like, that like when they go from a
Yeah, they're
bodybuilding
used to having
routine.
that soreness in that specific area.
Yeah. And I think one thing that people need to think about if they do transition from bodybuilding over to that full body routine is to know that they're not going to be as sore, and don't push it too much, because you're still going to get whatever 15 to 20 sets per week of the same volume that you were doing. You're just going to have it spread out over the whole week. You're going to feel better. You're going to elicit the same response, and actually a better response, because it's been proven in studies and stuff that doing that frequency is better than volume. Then if you do all that, then it's going to be awesome. Like I love that transition from bodybuilding to full body. That's like my favorite, as like taking myself through or anybody else through, because you just feel so good. And now you have so much room to ramp up volume over however long, the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or the next program, to really gain in size.
Right. Right. Amen.
Or whatever your stuff is,
No, but I like that.
Amen.
That gives a good example. That the where we started actually too, with that. Want to do that transition. Sweet. Oh, one more thing with the transitions, and I mentioned this, but I just want to go into it a little bit more. Just paying attention to your energy in versus energy out is a good thing to look at right at the time of the transition, which is like, how is your recovery doing? Are you recovering enough for the amount of work you want to do? Do we need to ratchet down the volume? Can we ratchet up the volume? That kind of thing. And
Yep.
when you're doing a full body routine, it's a lot easier to play with the volume a little bit more too, I think, which is what made me.
Yeah. Because don't get confused by when I say like the chest day, you're going to get more sore, because when you're doing the full body routine, you oftentimes will feel you might not be as sore, but you'll almost be like exhausted.
Yeah, you'll be more
like,
globally tired, basically.
yes. Yeah. And I don't know if that's part cardio, since you're going from upper body to lower body, or
I think
what it
nervous
is.
system too. I think you're getting a lot more nervous system fatigue with full body routines.
Yeah. Okay. I like
You're
that.
not used to it.
I have this story when I was a young coach. Like it was like maybe my first or second year training somebody. He was in good shape, a younger guy, like probably 25 or 30. And it was one of those, you just see him once and you just train him once. There was like one of those intro things. And he was doing a bodybuilding routine, and I did a very simple full body routine. And within 10 or 15 minutes, like this guy who was young and looked like he was in really good shape, he was done. Like he said, no thanks, man. And he was out. And I've trained hundreds of people, and I've never had somebody do that, but except for this one guy,
Yeah.
because I think that it shocked him so much. Like, cause I think he thought that he was in really good shape.
Yep.
And within 10 minutes of a beginner level full body routine, not like some advanced level, full body routine, like very beginner level. I mean,
Right.
he was toast. And I think that's something to, as a coach, that's something that I learned, that, that change of, bodybuilding to full body or whatever you're changing can certainly be a shock.
Yeah. I love watching those. I was just talking about this in one of our group classes. The videos of like the super muscular guys who see some Instagram exercise challenge thing that requires like a lot of mobility and full body strength, And
Yeah.
then these super muscular people try it and they're like, oh, holy crap. They just the views come from just watching the hilarious failing attempts, and then sometimes they'll get it though, which is even better because then at the end you have to watch like the whole thing. Like, are they going to get it? Are they not going to get it? Are they going to get it? Most of the time they don't.
Right.
Maybe this time's their practice. That's
I know. I love that. Actually, I don't even watch them. Remember, I don't even watch that stuff. But I've seen it here and there.
It's inescapable. It's inescapable. If you like fitness content, the gram or somebody else is gonna throw that at you.
I know.
All right, so I feel like that's pretty good. You want to go into Fit Quest?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. I'll go into my Fit Quest real quick because I know you have a few things.
Okay.
In your Fit Quest, right? Okay.
All right. I can't track you on your Fit Quest because you're not on social media that much, by the way. Every time I think about this, because I'm so used to looking at people, like what they're doing before I talk to them right now for the podcast. And then I started doing it with you, Josh, and I'm like, shit, I can't do it. I can't stalk him properly.
Okay. So that's my first Fit Quest. I deleted my fitness Instagram account.
Yes, exactly.
Deleted. It's gone.
Done.
Because I was trying to figure this out. So I've been a trainer for, 8 years or so. And I decided that I'm not going to be a personal trainer anymore. And it's a weird feeling because like I became a personal trainer because I'm like, I love it so much and I love every aspect of health. And it's like, but I need to change from the mindset of making money to health to being just obsessed with like fitness and health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's like
it's a healthy hobby. No pun intended.
It's probably the most important thing that I'm glad that I studied it like officially from different institutions or what are they called? The certification programs.
Yeah, man. And do you think like it would be this is one of those things like physical education, like physical education needs to be like physical awareness education. Basically, I feel like you had this urge or craving almost that you had to satisfy until you felt like you knew enough, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and be able to look up things on the internet and know what's BS and what you should be listening to, how you should think about your body. I mean, I think these are some of the most important things I learned in life for sure.
Okay.
And so you were saying that you think it should be in school. I am very impressed at my second grade daughter's knowledge of good fitness exercises that she gets from school. And like the stuff they do in class, nice. I'm like I think it's really good. And I think that depends on the teacher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the teacher that my daughter has is really good. And I think that she's learning a lot of good stuff. I mean, she did a push-up the other day. She can do 2 push-ups right now, which I'm super excited about. And I was like, you should do a goal of 5. And she was like, no, my goal is 10. And I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Wow. All right.
But anyway,
program.
That was,
Gotta make a program for her. I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
Well, I'm not identifying as a trainer though.
That's right. So I'm just going to be enthusiastic about fitness and health, and I'm not trying to get in the mindset of like making money from it anymore, which I never really was, but just really completely separating it was important, I think, in my journey of life. And it's been about 6 weeks. I recorded the last couple of podcasts without mentioning this, but I made that decision, about 6 weeks ago or so.
I like that. I think you need to have that for your own brain function, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be hard. It's easier to make decisions once you make that decision.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's part of my Fit Quest. And now I have 2 other sweet things. my golf update is I got an Albatross.
Okay. Is
Do
that
you
the
know what
putter?
that is?
Is that the putter?
So an Albatross is getting a 2 on a par 5.
Oh, wow.
And so it's actually, so first off, I'm super excited and I'm super lucky and it'll probably never happen again. And I still suck at golf. And so just saying all that first, but it is more rare than a hole in one.
A long
So
drive and a long putt, or like a drive and a iron, like from the fairway, iron went in.
yeah, so I made a nice, kind of crappy drive behind a tree on the right. And then I hit it a 180-yard shot into the hole. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Did you know right
I've
away?
been
Did you
playing for
keep flying?
No, because it was a blind shot. It was a really good shot actually,
Yeah.
but it was blind, and my wife she was putting while I was looking for it, and I was all pissed and stuff, and I was like, man, I think that was a perfect shot. And then she putted one, and she was like, oh my gosh, it's in the hole, and I was like, yay. So that's a one in, it's a, okay. So 1 in a million per one stat and 1 in 6 million per another stat to
Okay.
get an Albatross.
Wow.
Every year, there's only 250 or so Albatrosses compared to 10,000 hole in ones.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I thought that
you
was
can
cool.
make a hole in one from a par 3 on an easy course. Yeah.
Well, I've never made a hole in one, I'll tell you that.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
That's
goodness. I think that's the only golf stat I have on you right now, then, Josh.
Oh yeah. See, so you have a hole in one?
I
That's
have a
crazy.
couple hole in ones. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. I was
Dang.
good at hitting those bangers when I was a little kid, and I used to just walk around the courses. And we used to go to par 3 courses, 9-hole par 3 courses when I was a kid.
Yeah, dude, you should play, man. Like I know most of my golf friends have never had a hole in one.
I'm keeping my skills. Like I'll go play. I'll swing the clubs and I'll do little things here and there. It's in my back pocket. It's like it ever becomes really easy for me to do both time and effort wise.
Okay.
It has to be really easy, especially right now. It's like almost rarely, really easy. It's hard. Disc golf is easier than golf, and I can barely even get that going enough.
I know. All right. Well, we need to play soon. All right.
Okay.
All right. And then fitness wise, I've been running a little bit. Oh yeah. So that's what we were going to talk about. So I just started running and I haven't ran since like last year or so. And so I just started that, and I told you that I was doing it like an interval style to start out.
Right.
So basically I started out with 2-minute walk and a 1-minute run, I think it was. And I've increased that. I went to a minute 45 walk and a minute run. And then my last one was at a minute and a half and a minute run. And basically I'm just going to ease into it, and my knees or ankles or anything haven't been hurting afterward. And so back's been feeling good. So 2 days of yoga, 2 days of the run walks, 2 days of walking right now. I've been shooting hoops a little bit and still golfing. So
no direct strength.
But what's up?
No direct strength work. No weightlifting.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. I've been doing push-ups and same as last time. Push-ups and different bicep and tricep exercises.
Okay.
Which you know what, man? I have been playing some good golf over this past month. Since I started like this super mini strength training routine.
Minimalist
and
even.
Just like the strength in my arms, it's not even like I'm strong as in a sense of like I can go deadlift a bunch of weight.
But
but
like
like
more
the
physically speaking, you needed a little bit more capacity, and it might have helped with the capacity, you think?
yeah, or like maybe just some kind of control of just, just activating and working my biceps and triceps and my chest and all that, over the past month. It seems like I've been swinging really well. I feel strong. Like I feel like more in control.
Mhm.
Even though I've been doing the yoga still and I've been doing that for so long, just adding in the weight, I've been playing great this past month, I'm going to continue that. And I only do that once to twice a week, I would
Wow.
say.
I like that, man.
Yeah. Yep. And I wrote down this other word, core first. And I think I talked about this a few months ago, but I have this core first mindset that any of my movements I try and be core first. And that goes from rolling in bed, like to get out of bed,
Yeah.
to grabbing the dumbbells all, out of the rack, to picking up my kids. Just anything I do is core first. Like reaching into the dishwasher, like engage, grab,
Seriously.
like
I love that. I love that a lot. I think that
yeah.
that makes me think like we should do an episode on soft skills, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
strength training
Yeah.
soft skills. Like
Yep.
that's a combination of a mantra tied to a muscle activation, right? And it's kind of
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's an if then statement. If this, then that, right?
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense.
Yeah. If I'm moving if I'm about to move my core in any way, then I need to brace my core relative to the movement that I'm about to do.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Core core first mindset. Like
And you just
anything.
abbreviate that to core first. And that's the mantra that turns that switch on, you know?
Yep.
And the more, and you can, and like you can get practice with it and get really good at it really quickly because you're going to get so many repetitions so quickly. And like in a few days, you're going to get, it's going to be feel regular.
Yep.
Right.
Hmm.
Which is amazing because a lot of times people think habits take a really long time, but if they're easy enough and you repeat it enough, it'll happen really quickly.
Right.
And for
Yeah.
you, that helps your back so much, but it also, because you know that's a hole or a gap in your movement, right? And
Mhm.
you've assessed enough and you've evaluated enough to realize that. Once you
Yeah.
pinpoint that and you just get that small repeated frequency up, it can be extremely impactful across many categories of movement.
I think so. I think so. Yeah. It even goes back to my golf swing, which is the most important of everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's your main goal with your movement right now. That's the main outcome that you want from your movement right now.
Well, it's my main fun outcome,
Yes.
like it's always like, don't hurt your back picking up your kid,
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah.
is like my deep goal. But
Yes.
my superficial goal is that I just want to be good
There
at
we go.
golf.
There we go. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, they play off each other too. You got to have those too.
exactly. It's a balance.
Yeah. I like it. I like
All
it.
right, Mike. Mike,
Or bump.
this is a crazy week. Like, there's so many things. A couple things this week and then I'll say it, and then you tell me. So, first thing, you were on somebody's podcast, right?
Gary V's podcast. Oh, you mean the other
Gary V-
podcast? Which
Yeah,
one?
we're on two podcasts
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
week, right? Okay. So you were on the first podcast, and then the second podcast that I know about was Gary V's podcast. And he said, my favorite part was no list. All right, tell me the story. Tell me the story.
Stop at your fucking list, I think was the exact quote. I don't
I think that was
list.
close.
I don't want to, I don't want whiteboard. I don't want.
Like you can say that you got Gary V into a crazy rant at the end of your
I was
call,
gonna,
like because that
I
was
know he doesn't like lists either, and I know he doesn't like whiteboards, and I know he doesn't like the little yellow notes that people make. No one ever fucking looks at. So, and I was like,
that,
I was deadpan the whole time because if I didn't act deadpan, I think I would have. I couldn't talk. I was like, and what was crazy is if you watch like the replay live video, you can barely hear me until like the second half of the conversation.
yeah.
But the whole time I'm hearing him perfectly and he's looking at me like face to face, like me and you are looking at each other right now. Like his
Oh,
face,
that's
and
crazy.
his face was like up close too. Like I could see his like pupils and his eye color. You know?
That's intense.
Yeah, yeah, and so you'll see like the phone camera on a tripod in front of him. That's the one he was looking at with me. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so like it was intense, dude. And I was just trying to be like relaxed and get my words out and not act like a
Yeah.
damn fool, on a big podcast. And but then at the end, I was like, "Come on, let me say something about a list. I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna write a list. Give me a second. Come on. All right, I'm gonna write a list. Fuck your lame."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was awesome.
So I was happy about that. I wasn't.
My
I mean, not just getting Gary worked up, but he actually gave me some good advice too. So it was nice. It was very useful.
He did give you good advice. He gave you the Gary V advice. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
It's like it's the Nike advice.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Like
What?
stop being a dick and just do it. Right. That's like always his advice.
Yeah.
But ultimately, isn't everything you've ever done in life like that is the ultimate advice, right? Like at the end of the day, stop making your list. Like the lists don't matter. The only thing that matters is like the second that you step into that list and do it.
Eckhart Tolle. I got to go read The Power of Now instead of doing
Okay.
what I need to do. Isn't that ironic?
Go read about it instead of doing it. That's exactly what I would do, though.
I'm so inspired, Josh. I'm going to go I didn't say that one. I couldn't have said that one too.
What I got out of that conversation is that he was like, why are you, he was like, why are you talking to me? That's what I heard out of him. He's like, that's what I heard. He's like, you're doing it right. Sounds like you love your family. Like, he's like, what's your problem?
I got two compliments. I got two compliments by this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like deep down your question was like, how do I make more money? And that's it. Like, because everything's good. And I think that's the lesson that Gary Vee was trying to say is that like, hey man, you have a balanced life. Like, it sounds like you're doing it. Like he literally says, like, it sounds like you're doing it, man. And then so I thought that was a cool thing probably for you to hear.
Yeah. It helps to hear that, honestly, because it's balance, as my one and only tattoo reminds me, balance doesn't come without like through a few scrapes and bruises usually, and like tactical brain work basically in some form or another. It doesn't, you just don't get there basically. And complacency is where, and it's a weird thing to talk about because you can't, when you feel balanced, you don't want to go around and tell people, I feel balanced. Do you feel balanced? Well, I'm having a hard time with feeling too balanced right now. Like, how do I know when balance is too long? Is it just me? What do you think? And they're like, I'm just trying to find fucking balance right now, dude. Like,
right. Well, I like to think about it that like, so balance in your life is like one thing, like balance in your job is one thing, balance in your life is one thing, balance in your family is one thing. Like each one of these things has its own line of balance. And when a few of them are thrown out of balance by one of them or vice versa, like then that's when I think things can get a little bit crazy. But like, cause you live a balanced life or like, I don't know, right? Like you live fairly
Compared
balanced
to the
and like
norm,
somewhere,
I'm pretty balanced. Yeah, I would say.
right? So I mean, do you want to if you unbalance the business, you know, what's going to happen with those other things? Those other things are going to go into a point of turmoil. And oftentimes, like when you know you have young kids right now, like you know that the next 5 years of your life is is in turmoil, man. And that's just due to things that are kind of outside of your control as of this point, like they're your family. And so I think like when that's too far out of balance, that's when you got to chill at your job, you know, and then when that gets a little bit more back in balance, then you can kind of push harder on those other parts of life.
Right. And I think the question I had was really just trying to get at the indicators, because I think I'm at a phase where I recognize the phases more, you know, and I just realized like, oh, there's probably some ways to recognize when it's a good time to shift that balance. And even though I feel balanced right now. How many times can I say balance in like 2 minutes? Probably. Even though I feel a level of equilibrium, I'll use some thesaurus terms. I know that the environment around me is going to continue to change. So if I stay the same, that's not good either, right? Because then I'm
Right.
not adaptable to the change. And that's, I think, where my slight, I don't have much anxiousness. So like, that's where my few anxiousness levels lie. And maybe because I don't like being anxious, I feel
Right.
like I need to nip this in the bud right now.
There's something out there that you're anxious about, I guess. I don't know
Mhm.
what. I'm not a therapist or something crazy like
Right,
that.
right, exactly. And then it's like, go talk to that, basically.
But anyway, but that was cool, man. That's awesome that you're on Gary Vee. I don't even know. I think I would be like you. I'd probably stumble on my words and stuff like that.
There's
But
we'll
you
stumble
sounded
words.
good.
Oh my
You,
goodness.
you you sounded good, man. You
Yeah.
sounded good.
All right, cool. I felt like a zombie talking. I was like, I'm going to talk in the most robotic way possible. So I don't get over excited.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. All right. Well, that was definitely cool and good advice by Gary. And yeah, for sure.
Just do it.
Just
Oh,
do it. Like,
all about the now, Josh. It's all about the now.
is it? But just do it. But why? Like, I think that we get too deep into that why question,
Mhm.
and because I mean, what's the payoff? You know, like you really need to understand your payoff of your next move, I think. But as long as you're changing in parts of life, like that's what I was trying to get at. Like there's all these different lines. Like have a hobby. You know, what's your hobby now? Like maybe like that line needs to be. You need to pull that line a little bit harder right now, or
Well, that's what you're
lean
doing
into
with
the
your personal training a little bit right now, right? Like the identifying more less as a personal trainer and putting it into a different category because the balance didn't feel like it was in the right place in terms of your priorities, right? Or your focus.
Exactly, actually. I didn't really think of it like that, but yeah, I mean, like you're just putting your top 5 priorities or whatever. We were talking too earlier about like minimalist. Like you don't want to have a million things going on, and you and I don't talk about a million things. We pretty much talk about the same like 5 or 10 things, right? That's because we keep fairly focused while going down rabbit holes of those like main topics.
Really.
And I think that's how you have to progress. And yeah, I had to pull back on training to allow some new things to come into my life. And it's just like a mental switch so that I'm not hanging on to anything. And maybe, yeah, I don't know, like with your situation, what your next step is with your business or whatever. But I think thinking about it like that, is just a different way to think about it to maybe move forward. I don't know. Or that's the question though. What is your why? Like what is forward? And I think you can answer that because I have friends whose like only goal in life is to like have $5 million in the bank account. And like like, that's not even like a thought in my mind. I mean, of course it would be nice,
Yes.
like, but that's not like on my vision board. I don't have a vision board, but like that's not on it. And
Right. Yeah. And like you
we have
said,
to
it
we have to find
can
it.
only make sense to you, really. And that's why it doesn't make sense, you know? Cause like, and
Right.
even when people say certain things, like you say core first, right? And that means something specific to you, right? But if you have someone else, you saying the word core first could mean something completely different, right?
Right.
And even if you explain to them what you do and how you mean it, it's going to be like a game of like telephone, basically, how they interpret that and actually copy it, which is really
Right.
interesting. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I like that we're talking about transitions though, even with our Fit Quest right now, how we've kind of like kept that theme with Fit Quest right now with like transitions and balance and energy in, energy out, right?
Well, I think transitions are a big part of life, and getting in and out of ruts. Like a lot of people define those moments of complacency as like a rut, but it's only a rut when you make it that, because you have to determine when you want to get out of it, and maybe that is just the feeling in your gut. Like, everyone gets that feeling sometimes. We don't talk about it too much, but I've been a stay-at-home dad by choice for over 2 years now. And there's a lot of times that I feel weird about not working and stuff, even though I've been make a couple dollars here and there and been pursuing different things. It feels weird. And I think that there's like a gut thing about when you're in a rut and when you need to transition. You need to listen to that, but then that's when you need to put logic on top of that gut feeling. And sometimes you need to like put your feelings aside, right? And really logically think out your life over just doing all those gut feelings.
Right. Like gut
And
feelings
that
are usually
maturity,
a buildup.
like,
I feel like, does that make sense?
yeah,
They're
yeah,
usually a buildup, and how you interpret that buildup could be accurate or inaccurate, but they're usually like
yeah.
buildup of something like your body has soaked up enough information from certain experiences that it's gotten to a point where there's this like nervous system buildup where decisions need to be made about the direction of where that's going to go. That's how I kind of
Oh,
visualize it.
that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. And back to what you were saying earlier. You know how people remember numbers in groups? So like a phone number, for example, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Okay.
7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, what?
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. But you might say 10 just to remember anyhow, right? Or people used to go
Okay.
like 1-800-99 I think that was Jenny Craig. You don't see that as much anymore because people don't have to remember numbers anymore. But the reason why people do that is because of how the brain chunks memory to to expand it and to utilize bigger and bigger chunks of information, basically. But we memorize things in small chunks. And the point of that is our priorities can't be much bigger than like 3, 5, 7 things. And these need to be extremely well defined. And it's really hard to even define them until you get to a certain level of experience points. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
if you think of this like a game, right? And then so first you got to figure out how to define them. Then you got to figure out maybe like your number one, then your number two, then your number three. A lot of people barely even get to that. Some people can get to 5. Some people can get to 7. Some people can chunk them, but like
Right.
they all have required steps before you get to that point of having those things readily available in your mind to reference when you're making a decision without you actually having to spend too much time thinking, what are my priorities in relation to this decision?
Yeah, which is harder than it looks to really think like that, like to be so attached to your priorities that you answer everything based on your priorities and based on that level. I
But the
mean,
more you
it takes a
do it,
lot to get there.
it doesn't take that long, like your mantra earlier. The more you do, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah. And I would argue that some of the most magical and best parts of life are outside of that logic, that value. And so when you look back on life and like look back on like what's actually good for your life and like the couple things that you were like, man, that was a crazy time, or like that was awesome. It's like almost always outside of those main values, because I think there's this part of life that's like the unexpected is really like this magical part of life that connects with you differently than like just, oh, like crushing your goals and your values like week by week, compared to like those crazy fun things that happen, in my opinion. I don't know. Is there anything to that?
I feel like we should just stop the podcast right there and just like, I'll finish my thing. What's going on? Yes. Amen.
Oh, yeah. We should definitely stop talking about stuff we don't know about. That's for sure.
Point. Oh my goodness. But yeah, and all that just from a few minutes with Gary V, Josh, all that just from a few minutes.
Powerful.
Powerful. No, but
Is that a wrap?
That was fun though. That was fun. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back a little bit. And then after that, I had a really good workout, basically, fit quest wise. Motivation has been high. I've been working on a bunch of business things. I got a picture ready of the kids watching Be Friends cartoon, basically. And feeling pretty good right now. One of the things, I know these things, but it just reminded me of what I need to do to make sure that I'm effective with my time. And I know there are certain things that I don't do as much, that it just helps to have that reminder. Like I've been doing like my breathing exercises more. I've been using some mantras more, actually, to remind me, like, if I do this, then I do that, instead of just reactively doing what I'm used to doing. And that's been helping. Most of it's related to procrastination, but as somebody who has very strong ADHD tendencies, I'm trying to balance this back to balance in a way that I don't go like, I never get like super manic, depressive swings, but I do get like highly energized, high motivation early, and then low motivation, like towards the end type thing.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to reframe that as just like, there is no early, there is no end, basically. There's
I like
only
that.
now. There's only now. There is no early,
Right.
there's no end, there's only now. That's one of the repetitions that are going around in my head right now. When
I
I'm
like it.
thinking about my motivation level.
So should we end it now? Because like I love, like that's a great mantra. That's for sure.
I like it,
I
right?
like it.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you another mantra
Yeah.
after we hang up, but unrelated. Have a good rest of the day, everybody. And thanks for listening.
All right. See you guys.
Peace.